Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Brightside. Welcome to the 6th episode of the Xtra Mile Podcast. I'm really excited about my guest today. To my left and to your right, I have Amillion The Poet. And I'm going to let him kick it in a little bit here and just tell you a little bit about what he's done, who he is, and what he's doing today. And then we're going to get into some deep conversation today. So take it away, man.
Next move, best move. Get ready, stay tuned. Hopefully my gift gets to meet a person on the other side of the camera that I don't know. A humble person, come from humble beginnings, been blessed to be a blessing now. So I'm just here to have a good conversation with you, man. Take this extra mile, see where we go with it. We're just gonna ride.
Yeah.
We're gonna ride.
It's kind of cool, and we talked on the phone for the first time the other day, but
Yes,
but it's kind of neat because, and I don't talk about this very often, but when I first was coming up in my teenage years, my cousin was really into music. Chris actually knows my cousin really well.
Okay.
And so because he was doing it, I felt like, I should get into it a little bit. And so I got into music and I was having fun with it more so than anything. But I think that it's really neat to see somebody who can take that and make a business out of it too, and use their passion, what they really care about, to go on and actually make a career of it. So that's really awesome.
I appreciate it.
I know I didn't have the talent for that, but I enjoyed the release of it. That was for sure, and the poetry and things like that as well.
I mean, you had to have it sound because it got you in this seat right now. We talking. So if it wasn't for that step, you might not have got to where we at right now. So
yeah, definitely. It's funny though because I'll go back through like I found my old MySpace, right?
The MySpace.
I'm not gonna get no tags. We're not putting no links out for this one, Chris. But this songs are still on there that I did back then. I'm like, man, that's like a whole lifetime ago, But a lot changes, man. A lot changes over time. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, how has things really changed for you as you've reached different levels of success with your music and what your expectations were for yourself in the beginning? Like, how has that advanced along the way?
Man, what's crazy? I'm probably one of the few artists that never did what they did for money or fame. For me, it was this was something that I was holding on for a while. Everybody knew me. Even back when I think of Chris, everybody knew me as Lucas Amillion Mayfield, the basketball player. Okay. I was a roll call, the name they called you on roll call. My family never called me that. My family always called me by my birth middle name, which is Amillion.
Right.
And my close friends, But back then I used to be afraid of who I was because my name came with a story already.
Right, yeah.
It came with, my life was really a book and a movie before I wrote a book, before I had a movie, before the album came out. So once I began to become proud of that, man, it was something that once I started, I couldn't stop. It became more of an addiction.
Did you feel pressure from that? I don't mean to interrupt you, but did you feel pressure from that? Because and if you want to elaborate on that a little bit too, the name is really significant to you and to your family. So
definitely
tell that story real quick, and then talk about how did that apply any pressure to you, coming up?
No, I think the pressure was before. When people know you for a talent that is, allow me to pay for my education, got an overseas basketball contract.
You're talking about basketball now, right?
Yeah, okay. But when you go back before that, the pressure of that, that wasn't really too much pressure. But when you aren't being true to yourself fully, that can be a pressure for a person like me. Some people like to, maybe be a caterpillar. Or me, it was no, once I became proud of it, I always say once you find yourself, you must define yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
So I've been able to do that over and over again now. But dating back to the original part of the question, a million means one in a million. Right. I had a 1 in a million chance of living just from being born here before I even got to Delaware. I grew up Southeast Washington, D.C., and we had to leave there. My father was actually doing time in prison at the time, and they actually were trying to rob the house to actually find his stash, so to speak. So it's a real deep story, but salute to my father who's out now in recovery. Salute to my mother. She was there from day one. And, she raised a king. Yeah. In the world, I could thank them for molding and shaping me along the way. But definitely, man, it started there. And 1 in a million now has been my name and what it means. But now the movement is bigger than me. Now it's to inspire you.
Right.
Let you know that you got something 1 in a million in you that can't nobody touch or do the way you do. Everybody behind that camera. Chris, can't nobody do what we do, how we do it. Yeah. So once you find that, you must Define that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I like that a lot. We talk a lot about like self-awareness on this, right? Too. And so it's funny you mentioned like basically embracing who you are, because I tell you, and I talked a little bit about my past with you, but I hid from that. Like I was afraid of what the world was going to think of me doing what I'm doing today based off that being my past. But over the last couple of years, I've really embraced that, and I've been able to get that poison out of me, right? And allow people to accept me or not accept me, but they're going to base that decision off of who I am and who I am to myself, that genuine person.
You no longer got a kryptonite.
Right. That's right.
You no longer got a kryptonite. You know, if I could talk about my stuff, how you going to talk about me?
Yeah, no, that's really
I put all my stuff in my lyrics, so it's a lot easier now, believe it or not. But when you think back to now, this has been a 10-year journey. They say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. So I feel like I'm really about to get into some new things in my life. But just imagine when you go back 10 years now, we in 2020, that decade. Like I walked away from a $150,000 signing bonus contract overseas to go to Italy, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't know nothing about what I was going to do. All I knew was I wanted to help people help themselves, so I went back, was taking care of my daughter's social working, and I was doing poetry at the time. I was just rapping to my heartbeat.
Right, yep.
You know what I mean? That's why I still keep Amillion The Poet, because without that, I wouldn't be where I am.
Right.
And I don't plan on rapping when I'm 100, but I'll be writing books and doing, you know, so I was already thinking 2020 back in 2010.
Right.
But just think it was a lot harder to say, I want to do poetry. I want to write a book. You think it's hard to say you an artist now. Yeah. No, then it was like, who does that?
Right. And especially like, and you know what I find is like when you talk about those goals, a lot of times it's the people that love you and around you. Like, are you sure you want to do that? Are you like I won't like naysayers, but to the point where it's like, okay, they really do care. Mm-hmm. It's coming from a place of, you know, in good intent.
Right.
They don't want to see you fail, but at the same time, it's their fears, their self-limiting beliefs that kind of say to you, hey, are you sure you want to write a book?
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's their fear a lot of time, you know. I call them secret admirers, though. We don't call them. It's a secret. They just haven't found out what it is, or it might be their fear that stops them from, you know, not wanting to see you fail.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, for a while, I know I look like my father. I look like him literally. I had a gift of gab, but when I chose to use it to do this instead of that, then it was cool. When I chose to hustle this instead of that, then it made sense then.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you got it. Me as a father now, we both fathers. I know we related with that on the phone. Now we get to look at the other side and, hold on, what you mean with it? Yeah. So, you know, I'm enjoying the journey, but like I said, then it was a lot harder saying I wanted to be a poet, but just not being afraid. Yeah. So now that it's evolved to me being an artist and now an international artist and doing these other things, it's a lot cooler to say now. Yeah. But it's easier to be it because everybody, that's what they aspire to be. But I don't care if I wanted to do roofing. I don't care if I wanted to flip burgers. I would have did it like nobody else could or would.
You would have gone the extra
mile. I would have what? The extra mile.
Did, right?
What? What? You know, I would have ended up having a podcast in the right side of my... Yeah.
No, it's so true though. Because like, and we talk about like, you know, really putting your all into whatever it is you're doing. And so it's really amazing because, you know, we talk about the fears and we already talked about our daughters having the gymnastics and the cheerleading similarities. But these kids are so courageous, right, at these earlier ages. But then they get to this teenage age and they get into like young adult age and they start, those fears really start to stop them from trying something. Like right now, they'll jump off of a beam, do a backflip and all this stuff with no fears. But then as you get older and older, it's like these fears start to hold you back from trying new things. And I'm like always watching my daughters like, man, they're not afraid to try anything. Right. And that's how I need to be with what I do every day because, you know, we're going to fail.
Right.
Fail is part of this. Right. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's like that's really interesting to see on these young athletes. Yeah. But you're right. This fatherhood thing, man, it's no joke. You gotta embrace it. You gotta. So talk about that a little bit. How like did that impact you and what you were setting out to accomplish? Like when you had your daughter, did that change? Like now you like, oh, did it make you look like bigger picture on some things?
Totally. Yeah. Totally. I think I have the blessing and the luxury of being able to live my dream simultaneously with my daughter. That is cool. Like, a lot of times, like for my mom, for instance, she had to sacrifice her dreams for me. So I thank her to this day. I just thanked her in a big way about 4 months ago. But for myself, like I literally walked out of my 9 to 5 right when she was about to turn 2 and went full into my dreams. I didn't just jump off the porch. I did my research. I built a following enough to when my book came out after I did my poetry circuit, I thought it would be pretty good. And it ended up becoming a Delaware bestseller. And then that gave me the platform to become the artist that I am, because I did that for about 3 to 4 years. So when I think back, my fear now was like, I'm more afraid of what happens if I don't try this. It's a total different side of the spectrum of fear. You know what I mean? But when you say father, I mean, I'm a father before an artist, author, poet, before all of that. So I had, you know, what's the cliche statement? A dollar in a dream? No, we got a thing called a daughter in a dream.
Right.
A-dad, A-D-A-D, where it's like literally now she's doing it. We put a children's book out together.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, we did that when she was about 4. She's 12 now. You know what I mean? So she's already her own athlete, building her own brand. I'm teaching her those things. And you see it every day. These kids is, look, I'm just getting a comment on Instagram. That's what they on now. Yeah. So that fear now is like, oh, how do I trend? How do I not fit in? How do I, stay? And that's the toggle, because we had half of our life, we ain't had to worry about that. Nobody cared about how many likes she was getting. And, when we was in elementary, we wasn't thinking about likes and all that. Now it's like, oh, what do I gotta? So it's a whole different monster. But
you're right.
To not get off topic, because I can go everywhere when it comes to my daughter. Father first, man, and she taught me to be fearless, because like I said, I walked out in that 9 to 5, and now 10 years fast forward, now we back overseas with the music, and
that's awesome,
it kind of worked out like that. But I can't say I planned it. I just kept going and not fearing what was going to be. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. No, dude, you're so right. And so like what you said was that 10 years to become an overnight success, right?
True.
It's so funny. We've had some similar conversations about that, but can you talk about like patience, right? And how like with your goals and what you're embracing and what you're working towards, like how can you talk about
how much
patience?
time you got?
Know, right?
How much time you
hey, we're patient, man.
I'm trying. That's one thing I wasn't born with.
Right.
But I'm learning it. Your children teach you that. Your dreams will teach you that. And I always say, when you're not born with patience, I'm glad I was blessed with persistence.
So and resiliency, right? But like, so for the next musician, the guy that's on the other end of this camera that might think about, or maybe he's already put like a couple tracks out, right? And he's like not getting any feedback, he's not getting any following. Like, what can you say about like that person that might be, trying to put a poem out, or maybe they're a painting, like they did a couple paintings and nobody said nothing. Tell them about how many paintings you got to do.
It's the short-term goals first that can give you that motivation to keep going. But it's gotta be here first, because there's times that, believe it or not, even with the success, you're gonna go through another whole hump where you're not gonna see nobody. Mm-hmm. Like, pretend like you leaving the beach. Everybody, when you leave, they're like, in the boat, say, hey, see you when you get back. They really think you're gonna be right back.
Yeah.
It's gonna come a time where you're gonna be there and you can't see the destination, but you can't see where you started. Mm-hmm. And you ain't got nobody but you. And if you believe in a higher power, you better believe in that. Yeah. But it's got to be in here, because it's going to be an up and down process, even to the point where, you might be a small fish in a big fish in a small pond, like Delaware. But I have to motivate myself I'm not competing with just people around I'm competing with global artists now. So what might be success to him might not be to me.
Yeah.
So you got to have your own metric level. And I think that's the only thing that's going to allow you to progress. Because if I'm worrying about what you're doing and what he's doing and what you're going to be messed up, the patience is one thing I live. Probably the best state of mind I've ever had was next move, best move. People always say it around me, but it's a state of mind. I'm only trying to be better than I was yesterday. So if I keep that in mind, I'm not mad that, okay, I might not have had 2 paintings sell today. Picasso didn't sell until he was dead. Tupac didn't sell 20. Like, a lot of our greatest artists, it comes with it. Yeah. I accepted that before I even
we just see so often that there's such a lack of patience, especially, and we talk about our work with the youth and things like that too. But, you know, I think it comes back to what you were talking about before, is like that self-awareness, right? When you're out here pursuing what you want to pursue, it's not about what other competitors are or what other people, other musicians are doing, because you got your own lane that you're making as you go. And it's on your terms, right? And it's what you want to accomplish, not what they want to. What's really cool about that is I actually had, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, I put on social media, I said, I'm in a constant competition with the person I was yesterday.
That's it.
Right? And so for me, that's my thing, is like, I got plenty of competitors around here, but I'm focusing on what I want from me.
You live in that next move, best move lifestyle. And then you got to be confident with just knowing that can't nobody do it the way you do it.
Correct. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the most important thing, because somebody might get that contract, or somebody might get that festival that I wanted. Okay, it was meant for me to go somewhere else and do something. Like, it's not, it don't mean it stopped. Like, it took me 3 years to get the Firefly. I already ran around the world 3 times.
And that was your backyard.
And this is my backyard. That's patience.
Yeah.
First year I was like, I ain't paid my dues yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? Second year, it's like, we getting close. Third year, are we ready? That next time it came around, it was that time. But I technically could have did it at that 3rd year mark. But somebody had a higher plan, and it meant more when I got there. You know what I mean?
You said something a little while ago that I want to go back to, because, and you had the acronym for it.
What was that?
Daughters, you said daughters.
A daughter in a dream.
A daughter in a dream, right? So obviously I got 2 daughters of my own, so I can definitely relate to that. But what I always think about, and it kind of goes back to what you're talking about, like that long term, that patience. So I always think about, like, not even my daughter anymore. I think about their kids and their kids.
Generational wealth.
We talked about that on a few other shows, and I got no problem repeating myself, because guess what? That means that I'm consistent on what I believe. And the quote that I mentioned in one of the other podcasts was, the most successful people in life plant trees under which they know they'll never sit. Right? Indeed. So, like, you talking about the Tupacs and, like, the different people that never even got to see the impact of their legacy, but how many people did they actually impact and touch? And that can be really, really deep. But I wanted to ask you about this, because I actually do some mentoring with some people, and what we talk about is a lot of, like, what fuels them and their why. Okay. And so for, like, a lot of single moms, what I hear far too often is, you know, I do this for my daughter, I do this for my kid, which is very admirable, but what happens when they got their own lives? And so that's the thing that we talk about a little bit, that is a little controversial, a little bit different than the common thoughts on this. But, like, when that child has their own life, like, what's going to fuel you in that day and that morning to get up? And what would you say about, like, that to, you know, somebody that might be in that situation where they feel like they're fueled only by that?
Well, I would definitely say, don't let that be your only fuel.
Right.
But it's definitely is nothing wrong with that being, you know, that could be your 87 unleaded.
Yeah.
Make sure your 89 is something bigger than that. Yeah, make sure your 89 is something deeper than that. Because just, I use everything, so it's hard for me to constrict it. Like, I'm motivated by hate, and I'm inspired by love. Ooh. So it's like, if I'm getting a lot of love, I could trick myself and then, like, nah, I want to pay attention to who really talk. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. I lock in like that. Outside of that, it's definitely gotta, like you say, your kids gonna end up having their own life. So what's gonna motivate you then?
Right.
I like what you said. I've always believed in generational wealth. Where I'm from, that was a faux pas. Yeah, exactly. Where I'm from, that was a faux pas. You know what I mean? Like, I just rest in peace. It's been a lot of funerals I've been to lately, and I'm just seeing, like, what happens when things happen out of nowhere, and there's no preparation. There's no trust funds. There's not a lot of things out here. Like, that's what motivates me. I'm like, I can't just think about, okay, I just took care of my mom's house. Okay, what after that? You know, you gotta keep using these things for fuel, because you'll eventually run out of gas.
That's huge, man. Because, like, kind of going back to the question I asked earlier, like, every time you've gotten to a different level of success, I'm sure. So, like, for me, I remember the first time I got life insurance. I'm like, what? life insurance. Like, I never even thought that I would ever need life insurance. Like, who? True like, indeed. And now I'm like, got this policy, and I'm like, man, my kids, like, if something happened, they're all right. But like, then I'm like, okay, now what's next? So for every level of like success that I've gotten to, then I start to see a little bit further, and so it makes me feel like, man, every time I accomplish something, I can accomplish something more than I could beforehand. And so one of the similarities you and I have is we try really hard to inspire, especially our youth, but even more especially like the at-risk youth, the people that are subject to the environments, especially that I've seen, and you know, I'm sure that you've seen out there, the trouble that you've seen. So let's talk about that a little bit, because you know, you've worked, I think you said to me before that you've done some work at like the Stevenson House Detention Center before, or you've spoken at some.
I've probably done about 20 prisons.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool.
30 or so juvenile facilities, and then I can't even tell you how many alternative programs. I've always attached myself to that because it was more relation there. You know what I mean? Course, like even in social work, and I was always the one where they were like, "Oh no, I don't think you want him. He done did it. Give me him. That's the one I want. That's the one I want. Yep. I like helping people that can help themselves, but or going through some things. What am I gonna? I mean, that probably would have been the difference in me putting out an album as a professional basketball player and then coming the humble ride that I did. I would have been rapping to rich people about like, not to say there's nothing wrong with that. Right.
Yeah, of course.
But
and I'm sure you got something to say to them too.
Yeah. I just felt a whole different joy and fulfillment when I was talking to like people that was down and out. Like when I talk about like influences, like I grew up off of like Nas, If I Ruled the World, Tupac, Keep Your Head Up. I knew I wanted to do music when I listened to DMX, Slip and Fall, and Can't Get Up. It was like certain artists that even though I was broke, they made me feel like I wasn't broke at that time. Sure. So when I wanted to do music, I said, this is what I want to do. I want to be fly, but be able to like elevate their mind.
What a lot of people don't know, man, is hip-hop, man. Hip-hop really does run this world, man.
Oh, man, like, look, it saved lives.
Dude, it really does. And if you want to find out what's going on, like if you want to find out there's some people in hip-hop that will tell you right away, not just in the political stuff and like the issues that, we're trying to work with these at-risk youth, right? It's a kind of a small picture thing, but this music, that's where you'll find out about everything that's going on in the world, what's trending, what's fashionable,
music period is running the world. Hip hop's the number one leading right now, but music in general, man, I've always been a music lover. So I was just glad when I was blessed with a voice of my own. But
it's awesome, man, to be a part of that and to deliver. And we talked about like I see similarities between you and Nipsey Hussle, and you said you've heard that before.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
But I mean,
especially I gotta cut the braids, man. I used to have the braids, and I brought them back, and I'm like, oh look, I got a hit. That's a great compliment because that was one of the few artists who I consistently listened to outside of my projects. Yeah, and I wouldn't lose anything with it because when I lock in, I got to lock in.
Yes, sir.
And he was one of the ones that had a voice, came from humble beginnings. Man. And man, R.I.P. to Nip.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Nip. Definitely, man. I was talking with a friend of mine who was a big, Nipsey Hussle fan.
Okay.
And when he passed, man, it made him like really look at the work that he was doing with the community and stuff like that. So let's go back though. I want to talk a little bit about the kids that we were talking about and like the trouble situations, because here's what I like when you talk to those guys, like, or those kids or those ladies or whatever, what is your biggest message that you're trying to deliver to them? Because, and I'll tell you kind of like my example of I'm always just trying to let them know that there's possibilities far beyond their current expectations of themselves.
True indeed. I go in there, no pen and pad, and I'm literally like reading body language when I walk into these places. So I've went to certain places where we end up going started here and we end up way over there, But I think my overall message that I always end up finding myself going back to is one of two things. One, first of all, they still 1 in a million too.
Yeah. And
when you are 1 in a million, you can beat any statistic. So, automatically in jail, you become a number, you know what I mean? But when you're 1 in a million, that's a great number. Outside of that, I would say being able to go through the nightmares to make your dreams come true. And you got to think about it. They live in a nightmare, even more than what we think we are. We still free. We might go through our primes, bills, females, child support, whatever we go through. Like, just imagine trying to do that, only being able to make 30 cents in a day.
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean?
That's
like,
so true.
That's crazy. So
when I see people that have been like that I've known and that have been recently released, they always say to me, a day out here is better than any day in there. And that's a lot of truth to that. So you're right though.
And that also I didn't tell you this before, but that was a big inspirational part of my book. My book actually became a bestseller because of prisons.
What's the name of the book again?
It was called PIMP, Poetry in Motion Proceeds.
I like that.
So it's outdated now. You can only find it in if you go to Barnes and Nobles and stuff like that. But I'm just talking about the foundation of it. I'm not afraid to say that prisoners made that. Like I had 2 friends doing life in prison, and I used to just write them poems and low energy and everything like that. And it used to just spread like wildfire. And then I'm like, look, I can't keep writing y'all every day. And, so what we're going to do is we're going to compile these poems. I'm going to give y'all some and I'm going to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, it was crazy. It was a Free Your Mind tour. And it took a life of itself. So it's something that I still hold dear. Now we got bars, but now I got a program now, Bars Behind Bars. To keep them free in their mind.
A little bit more about that. I got this is funny you say that. I got a cousin still serving. I think he got another 16 left.
Yeah, I got too many, man.
They got these they got this whole platform now and tablets and all kinds of stuff. So I'm able to communicate with them.
Yeah. He must have been at what, minimum security?
Yeah. No, that was the last people to get the tablets now, believe it or not. What? W Building was the last ones to get the tablets.
Well, shout out to Smyrna, because my broskies is not. They don't got no tablets.
We
yet.
actually have, and I've talked with Chris about this. I got a idea for a program that would help.
We got to build on that, man. Because I believe in prison reform. I believe in everybody, man. Listen, we only this far. We only this far from where they. And I think that's probably why they relate to me so much. Because I know that.
That's it. Yeah.
Come on, man. I've taken risks that could have left cuffs on my wrist when I was, who knows how old. So. You gotta be able to embrace that stuff, and it's no difference between the person here and on the other side of that screen.
That's right. That's right, man. And so it's funny because when I go in, I visit with the kids at the detention centers and stuff like that. I tell them, I'm like, when I tell you I was there, like one of y'all are sleeping in my bed right now. That's how real I'll get with them. To tell them that I'm like, look, when I tell you I was here, I was here. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting. And something else that's really kind of goes back to what you're talking about fatherhood and stuff like that. My daughter was born while I was in prison. The very first time I met her,
that had to hurt.
The very first time I met my daughter, I was in DOC Whites.
That had to.
But what was huge for me was that reality check. So that's why I get it that a lot of people are motivated by the fact that they have a child in their life
because gave you something to live for.
But let that be an eye-opening moment, and remember that you got grandchildren and so many more people that you can impact in your efforts in life.
Definitely.
So you talked about the Bars Behind Bars. I really like that. Let's talk about the one in a tour. The one in a tour.
I like like PIMP.
Yes.
One in a, one in a million.
Yes.
I just like simplifying and keeping things simple. But those 3 letters.
It needs the emphasis. I don't want to go one in a tour. It's one in a tour.
Yeah, one in a, one in a million. But the one in a tour was something that I had been doing from day one. I guess I didn't mind sharing my secret to success because it's my recipe. You know what I mean? I can give you the recipe. You still can't cook it like me. You know what I'm saying? And but if you do, at least you feeding the same people.
Yes, sir.
So that's what it's meant to be. Anyway, recipe is supposed to be spread. So one in a tour is something that I had been doing. I just didn't put a name to it. Where basically I was going to every city that I went to and had a show. I would make sure I go to a prison or a school and touch the people. So it's just something I did. Every city that you could ever think that I've been to, every state, I have always went to either a school or a prison, and I did it, and I just continue to do it overseas. So I document it as I do all my projects. This was one in a tour, but my first mixtape was one in a mixtape, Key to the City mixtape, Road to Firefly. All I do is time capsule anything that I'm doing in my life. You know what I'm saying? So where I can give it back to somebody that, they want to sit there and listen to it, or they can read it. Just however, I'm just a time capsule. So even we just dropped this morning, you gonna see about that too.
Yeah. So no, it's really interesting. I love the brand, right? And what's
that.
really interesting is like how you embraced your brand through your birth name, like, and how this all developed. Because it's interesting because like one day somebody was like, "Hey, you're Mr. Brightside," and then like I just ran with it, but I never even put two and two together. And I'm like, okay, the name of my company was Brightside this whole time, and now I'm just gonna run with this Mr. Brightside thing. But it ended up being like what ends up working. So it's
That's
like
what works.
It's you don't have to be so
organic,
creative that you got to go outside of the box to create something.
The things that work. Even a gimmick can work, but it doesn't withstand. The most organic things is what's going to last the test of time. Yeah. I get it. People, hey, what up, one in a million? Hey, they throw the one up like
right.
It just next move, best one. It just shows it's something bigger than me, and that's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. I would just every now and again, Delaware, I probably rarely find it. Maybe in the tri-state, people will know what's going on, but. Man, I keep referring to Chris, man. I just saw somebody that he's like, yeah, I see what you're doing, man. Hey, you created a whole new image, and I like this Amillion thing you created. I was like, nah, bro, like that was really me the whole time. Yeah. Like if anything was fake, it was when you knew me for just playing basketball. No, I always wanted to use my voice as a platform. Yeah. I ain't want to just I wanted to be like Muhammad Ali. I wanted to use my voice for something. I would have probably been Colin Kaepernick back then. No cap for real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it was never, this was the platform. So it was just a stage for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To express myself. So
I like that. And I like the fact that, like people will embrace it. And sometimes like those names come from like basically like you don't even know, maybe somebody else is referring to you a certain way, and then all of a sudden it becomes something that stays.
I be ready to fight now. Somebody call me like, what you call me? Oh yeah, that is my. But see, it's just so deep. But it's just something I stand for. It's no stage name, man. It's all real.
No, that's dope.
This one in they tour here, man.
That authenticity is what matters the most.
See, this is all real. These is all real moments. None of these is cropped out and made. These is all different stages of my life, and that's what the tour consisted of. Just all real.
Crushing it.
It's
Congratulations
all real, man.
on the success that you've had. We're going to talk about a couple of things.
Too.
But before I get into this next question, I want to start this by saying, the other day we were talking on the phone a little bit, and I was telling you how like when I was on the other side of the bars,
right.
I was dropping bars, right?
Yeah, and I heard that. I was like, okay.
What was really funny at the time, and there's some people that will be watching this podcast that were actually in there with me. And
I'm gonna need y'all to comment.
Shout out to Bobby. He'll comment on this.
I'm gonna need all of y'all to comment because I want this to be confirmed.
This is confirmed.
All right.
So I was battle rapping, and like to the point where like I didn't even realize how much of an impact I was having, but people were starting to put like commissary, Debbie's and stuff like that on me to battle people, right?
Right.
So this guy Bobby, a good friend of mine, he'll comment on this. He dubbed me Real Rap, and the name stuck with me that entire time. Now, obviously, that didn't evolve to anything, but had it, like I would have embraced that name. But those bars, like when I was in my cell, like I had so much emotion, right? I had so much emotion about where I was in my life and what was going on. That was like my outlet, whether it had been poetry, because it wasn't always raps, sometimes it was poetry. I want to talk about that because you just had a single drop, this Canada Flow.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And so I've had some time to listen to it. If you guys haven't heard it yet, go out there and search it. It's out there. Yeah. And we'll put some links to it on there.
But I want to talk Canada Flow.
Man, this is some deep stuff. And first of all, like I said, my comparison to you and the similarities between you and Nipsey, obviously your lyrics come with context and content. There's something to them. So I want to talk about, there's a line in Canada Flow that is specific.
Let's go.
And it's, instead of buying Amazon, you should be saving them. Instead of pouring Bahama Mamas, we should be praying for them. An early flight, but too late to save mama right. Prayers to the soldiers, Trump ain't right. So lot there. And I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to elaborate on that a little bit. But man, like I said, there's a lot to that outlet.
Oh man, you got me reliving.
Did I deliver it fair enough?
Yeah. I mean, one was the end of the first.
Right.
The first verse and the other bar was
it was separate.
Separate, but man, just saying that that's me playing with words with a serious topic. You know what I mean? I always tell people, like, my life didn't rhyme. I made it poetry, so I can make hell sound heavily.
Ooh,
so sometimes
like
you'll be vibing to it, but when you go back, you be like, hold on. I wasn't talking about, like, the Amazon on our phones. Like, no, like, what's going on right now. I'm socially conscious as well. Right. And, I mean, the burning of the rainforest. So what I said, instead of buying Amazon, we should be saving them. Like, instead of worrying about what's going on your phone right now, like, go ahead and put your money where your mouth is, too. Yeah. You know what I mean? And instead of pouring behind my mama, should be praying for them. That's almost a triple entendre for any of my lyricists out there. But, like, you know, what's going on in the Bahamas, the poor mothers out there. You know, instead of pouring the Bahama mamas on the cruises and the drinks and all of that, like, we should also make sure we take time to pray for. Because what happens is you don't realize it until it happens to you. Right now, what's hot is Iran, right? But as soon as if a bomb come right there to your mom's house, you're going to run right to her house and then you're going to be praying. No, I always put myself in the minds of others before we even get there. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I like using my platform to let people know, you know, this is what we should do. You know, thinking about just even behind bars to where we at now. Right. We grew up thinking what's gangster. No, gangster is taking care of your community, taking care of your family. You know, gangsters is taking care and you know, closing on your mom's house and giving her a new roof over the head for housing you. I'm in a whole different mind frame of what's gangster 100%. Now. So that's what my music is about.
And what we thought was gangster back then, actually, in hindsight, we're like, man, that was easy stuff, really. Exactly. That was easy stuff, really, because it takes hard work to accomplish something bigger than that. But you're right, because, like, you know, it's interesting today, though, with social media, how we can be exposed to so much more so quickly. Like what happened down here in Australia with the fires. Like, we saw these... And I tell you, people are emotional anyway. You see these people, like, saving, like, koala bears. Man, that right there, like, that trick, because people are emotional. But had it been...
In the pictures as red as his jacket right now. Yeah,
but you know what's crazy is, like, people are so emotional and they, like, instantly love, like, the animal. But what about the people that were disowned, like, taken out of their homes, that didn't have the same emotional connection? It's crazy how we react to certain things. But you're right, like, people are so focused on, like, just the irrelevant stuff, man. People are so focused on making sure they got the flyest, you know, Jordans, the flyest, you know, and they're not worried about what they could have been doing with that money to make either their future more secure or a difference on somebody else's future.
That's not gangster.
Nah.
You know, like I talk about, I'm big on that, man. People see me doing a lot of international tours, but I'm big on taking care of your community too. So it's a couple things. It's like kind of like the entertainment is what I had to kind of take the extra mile to go do all these other places, but always come back and inspire those within your community. I'm big on that, man. Yeah. I'm big on that. I'm big on that.
So you hit me in my heart just a second ago, because I'll be on a cruise in a couple of weeks. So now when I go to have a drink on that cruise,
you just want to say a prayer, you know. Send a little prayer out. Just like when I was my last tour was in Paris. Yeah. When I was in Paris before this last Canada, it was really going on out there too. Right. You know, people hating on our president, they didn't like theirs either. Right. And they was really going to show you and let you know.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So it's really just, you got to just, like I said, be proactive to the point where it doesn't affect you until it affects you, until it infects you. It should affect you way before that.
That's right. You know? I like that a lot. Listen, so going back to what you just said too about like, traveling, obviously I love traveling as well, but one of the reasons why I'll never move away from here is because this is where I like, and this tell me how this sits with you too, because this sits so deep for me. Like, this is where I did my dirt that put me behind bars, right? So this is where I owe my good.
Yeah, that's
you know
dope.
What I mean?
That's dope.
So like for me, I don't want to leave this area because this is my community that I gotta take care of and I gotta do for.
That's respect. So, that's respect.
Like that to me, like that's big. I love traveling. I love seeing the world. Me and my wife, we went to Italy a couple of years ago. That was, and it was to me, you know, like again, we're talking about those possibilities. When I was in that position with these kids, I'm telling them like I went to Italy this year, like. What? I never in my wildest dreams would have ever thought that I'd be traveling and doing the things that I'm doing today. But with those new possibilities come new possibilities. And so for me, like, I love to travel, but I'm never leaving this area because this is my community and this is where I'm going to do it for.
Man, so. that it's crazy. I'm going through that right now on a whole nother level. one of the original things I live by, if you can't change the state you in, change the state of mind. That allowed me to live in Delaware but not think Delaware.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it be in my heart wherever I go, where I go. Because you got to think about it. They're like, yeah, you went to Italy, but the real dope part about that is it was funded by your dreams. You know, they didn't think a person can be a professional artist here in Delaware. And not only that, show them you can do it here in Delaware, but you can do it everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it's important that I go there and come back to touch them, because if they don't feel it, all you had to do, if I was young, you just had to show me. Yep. Put me in that room, let me, this is real, I can do this. But at that time, coming up, I was like, dang, who do I pull from? Why not be that? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yep. So that's why it's big for me. So sometimes it's like, now I'm on the side where, okay, I'm looking to get a particular building in this area. It's one of the biggest buildings. I'm not going to speak on it till the ink is dry. But it can't just be a show just when Amillion's here or just when Firefly's here. Right. Like, people need to have a place where they can get dressed, go and have a good time, to see the youth or see a nice, quality venue. You know what I mean? Sure, and absolutely. I'm trying to work on those things outside of myself. But it's tough because the economy, you're good. You in a great economy for roofing. For entertainment, it's like literally I got to stay on the road. Just, you know what I mean? It's tough because sometimes I might think about, all right, maybe I should move to New York. But it's like, I don't feel like I owe it because I give a lot back. But I feel like
and again,
I'm not going to go until like, because a lot of people still don't know. Yeah. They're like, so, what else you do? Huh? Like, what you mean? Like, it's a full-blown movement. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so a lot of times, it's you want to make sure you're just not running on that treadmill. But it runs through my mind all the time, sure. Like staying here and the toggle between leaving and going. My daughter's now in Virginia. I travel 5 hours. It's tough. It's real. Like, I put all that in my music.
Oh, yeah.
So.
But we talked about it before. Like, success comes with that hard work. It's not like somebody might have bars for days, but if you ain't willing to put those actions in, if you're not willing to put the work in, what's it going to matter? You're never going to get your voice heard. Now, I want to talk about that a little bit too, because now I do see, like, we're living in a day and time where it's a lot, I don't want to say easier because that's not the right word, but you can get your word out to so many more people. So much easier today than you could before because of social media and the platforms that we have. How has that impacted your industry and like what your efforts have been?
It definitely makes it easier, but it makes me also appreciate my hard work more, because it's like a kind of separation of the pack thing. Because when you date back 10 years, we talking about when I first started with the book, and I've been professionally rapping for about 5 years now, coming up on the 5th year mark.
Oh, okay.
So around that 5-year mark, it wasn't so prevalent as far as how online is. You had to literally still go out there and shake some hands. Mm-hmm. So that work ethic allowed me to add it to being smart with marketing and things of that. So it's like the best of both worlds. But definitely for artists that just started today, oh man, you didn't skip me about. I had to really go the extra mile, for real. So
it's so crazy to me because I don't even think about it until right now. But you probably got people that are out there like finding talent, and now their job is so much easier. Now they can literally sit here and watch YouTube and different Instagram and find somebody like in a cabin in Tennessee that's in a room just dropping bars.
You got to be able to evolve. You got to be able to evolve. And that's why I told you that love-hate came from, like, man, I go overseas, and it's like, just imagine they can't even speak your language. They know every lyric. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might take me a month to sell out a show here in my state. Over there, it's 2 weeks, ticket sales gone.
Isn't that crazy?
It just messes your mind up. You like, hold on, well, what's going on? You know what I mean? But this is all the journey. Yeah. It's a journey, you know?
It kind of tells you how the rest of the world is watching what we're doing here in America, too. And, like, we see it when we do these, I'm a big football fan. So,
Who's your team?
Oh, I'm an Eagles fan,
definitely. Oh, okay. Well, at least you're not a bandwagon.
Okay. We're diehard over here. We died pretty hard this year. But anyway, watching how, you know, they react when you take these games over to London and to like these different places. These people are all in and like got their own team and their fans and of different players already all over there. So it is interesting to see how the rest of the world watches what we're doing here in America. But listen, I know your time is very valuable, so I want to talk about it. You started to talk about a little bit about what you're trying to work on right now. Okay. What's one thing and like one goal that you can, or a couple goals if you want to elaborate a little bit more? What are you working towards in 2020, and what are your goals? Like, what are you really trying to accomplish?
In the present time, my life is really writing what comes after Canada flow. You know, you can have all the success and then realize life can change like that. I went from literally a couple weeks ago, or just dating back a month ago, I had to push my tour back a little bit. Was dealing with some real life things. People needed me for some things that I wanted to, try to help as much as I could. To now, you going on tour, you having a great time. You performed in the #3 club in the world ever. I was just there a week before Drake and DaBaby. I'm like, oh, now everybody want to talk about the Rebel. All right, it's cool. Little Delaware was just killing it though.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you go to that natural high and you ready to start the new year. My birthday was January 2nd. I'm feeling good. Awesome. Then I get off the plane, man, and I get a call from my assistant that her mom is having trouble breathing. If I can, get her over there. And I go pick her up. Mind you, I'm just getting off the plane early morning, man, 7:30 in the morning. And I pick her up. We get there, and then next thing you know, I'm 2 minutes late trying to do the CPR and everything. I'm 2 minutes. Who knows how many minutes? To me, I'm always look at it as 2 minutes.
Sure.
But I took an early flight trying to surprise my daughter and everybody for Thanksgiving. And then you really get to see life and understand you got to be thankful. Forget the awards, but forget everything. And that kind of put things on a whole new scale for me. Sure. I had different things I was like, all right, word, I'm trying to finally get I'm trying to do my new car and think about these things. I'm putting all life. Everybody, I took care of everybody. Now it's time for me. No, he said, no, it's time for just be thankful.
Yes, sir.
So I'm literally still getting over that and trying to just get in a positive space to where, just keep helping people help themselves. Because I know it's other people that went through that too. Sure. It's a lot of people.
For sure, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. But, Thanksgiving, it's a lot of people that still behind bars. Yeah. In the grave. Yeah. I got a lot of angels watch. I say we lose people to gain angels. So that's literally where I'm at right now. Canada Flow just dropped today, so it's like me having a baby. For those that don't know, I'm looking at a baby on the other side of this beautiful camera screen. But I'm living in it right in that moment, and it's getting great energy. So when you get off of this week and me promoting it in that mode, I'm going to get ready for my next tour pretty soon. We'll be going back to DR, Dominican Republic, and then UK again. So I'll be getting ready for that. My daughter be getting ready for, cheerleaders get ready to start as a dad.
Yeah, man.
So my mind as a father's getting into that. I got some big business moves that I'm working on. So my business state of mind is kind of preparing for what comes with that. Man, that's where I'm at with it. It's next move, best move.
I like it, man.
Yeah, man. Don't stop.
It's huge.
It don't stop.
Keep
2020.
Keep it rocking, man, because we're still watching. You know what I mean?
2020 clear vision. You better. What's it? 4K? We in 4K?
Yeah. We're watching. So, listen, I wanted to kind of go back to that for a second because when you look at a situation like that where you experience like that loss and you see how valuable life is, it's easy to in those moments remember what matters most. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I often talk about with people is like understanding how many people finish their life with regrets of not pursuing their goals and their dreams. And so what I'd like for you to do is talk about how like in whatever instance in your life, how going the extra mile, right? Going the extra mile in your efforts actually led to something so much longer lasting than some kind of just immediate success or anything like that. Like how is that going the extra mile like really played into your long-term dreams and goals?
Everything that I'm not and wasn't afraid to do made me everything that I am. like taking that 5-hour trip right now to get my daughter. That's something my father wasn't able to do. But that going that extra mile literally is going to show her something that, you know, she's going to have forever. So that's the part people don't get to see. Sometimes a lot of people know about my daughter. I talk about it a lot, but that 5-hour trip don't get easy, buddy. And having the career I got and being able to still prioritize that, I think that speaks a lot to my character and to the person that I want to be and working on being. And then just the extra mile as far as career-wise, I mean, we talked about it, like just going around the world before I even went to my own backyard. I've always been willing to take that extra mile. When Dover didn't know what was going on, I had to go to I went to all the states around the country. Then I came back and it was like, hey, what's up? I knew you was nice. All right, cool, but if I didn't go that extra mile, I would have never knew. Man, I would have never knew. A lot of times, like you said, it's fear. The guys you see on the block or whatever, when they haven't seen anyone do it. I said that line in Canada Flow. I said, I'm from Delaware. I said, how that line go? I said, I'm from Delaware, a place where there's no proteins, but it's scarce hope, with no shortage of things, so they rather sell dope. Supply and demand, I'm serving one God's plan. Share my gift with the world, but you don't understand. I'm overseas on my grind. I'm doing shows. You think they grinding on my clothes? Hold up, see, like I get really into it. But
yeah, man, when there's that money,
when it's when you know, when you just think about it, man, it's not even a professional team that a kid from Delaware can say, "Oh, I can do that." That does something to your psyche. You know, I got an imagination, so I can kind of imagine some things before they come to fruition. So I'm glad for that, but I'm glad that now they can see this dream is real. And that's because we did the extra mile, bro.
Yeah, and it looks like you know, you manifested it because you truly believed in it.
Had to.
So if you could look at that camera and tell like the guy that's on the other side that thinks that, you know, he can do this, but you know, he's got the fears associated, and stop him from having regrets 30 years from now, like what would you say to him to avoid that regret 30 years from now about not pushing forward and pursuing his dream?
We might have to repeat this one because the way it hit me, put it like this, I said it, but it had a whole new meaning when it took somebody in life in prison and write me and say I saved their life, or overseas and somebody fainted, and they told me what song it was that connected. I'm just going to say you got to continue to go through the nightmares to make your dreams come true, because it's going to be them. I don't care how much money you got. He'll show you it don't mean nothing. I don't care how much. Man, I lost love. You can lose a loved one. I've lost love in my own personal life, lost friends, lost a lot of money, but I never lost my faith. And you can lose everything, but if you never lose your faith, you're going to win, because you don't lose if you don't quit. That's the only way you're going to lose. You know what I mean? So
we started talking about it a little bit earlier, but like people, man, their fears stop them from doing so much, man. And I look at what you've been able to accomplish, man, and it seems like to me, like you may have had those fears, but you weren't afraid of them, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
And so for me, I see so many people that they have the naysayers in their lives, maybe loved ones that are saying, hey, listen, don't do this. And the reason they do that is because they'll say to you, they'll say, look, Amillion, don't go write this book. But it's because they don't want to see you write that book because they didn't believe they could write their book. And if you write your book, then they have to deal with the reality that they could have wrote their book.
That's exactly what it was. It was like, look at how much ground we've covered, right? Look at it like this. First it was, don't leave an overseas basket. First it was, you from Delaware, you can't even get a Division I scholarship.
I know.
I had to literally go to University of Pittsburgh, Titusville, before I got a scholarship to the University of Pittsburgh. Like,
that's crazy.
Rewind back then, like you can't make it to live past 21, where in the Southeast where I was from, that was an accomplishment.
Yeah.
It wasn't what you want to be when you grow up. We should be like alive, happy. It's real. So this the easier part, but look at the ground we covered. You know, don't leave that overseas. First is you can't make it, then you get it. All right. Don't stay overseas, man. Get that money in it. Nah, I'm going back for my daughter, man. I gotta be there. All right. You know, then it's, all right, Don't stop being a social worker. You got a good job now. I gotta show her there ain't no fear over here. Like, I think I got a higher purpose with my word. And guess what? Now I get to have my own workshops and all of these other things I get to do, right?
Yeah.
Then it was, all right, you got the poetry thing. All right, nobody else. Oh, don't do the rapping thing. You know what I mean?
No, now don't do the rapping
thing. Yeah. Now it's all right, man, you rapping now. Don't go overseas. Don't nobody do that. You see what's happening now they looking at like ASAP. I've been going over there with no security or nothing.
Right.
Don't do that. Who would do that? I don't know, but it's something. I'm going.
Right.
Like I'm more fear if I don't go and see what's up. Then what happened when I get there?
You said it earlier. You said, and I can't remember who it was. Man, I want to say it was Jay, but maybe it wasn't. He said, "I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of not trying." Right. And
Facts.
That's it. You know what surprises me though? If you look at let's look at the people that have left everlasting impacts on you, me, right? It's always somebody who started from humble beginnings, right?
Yeah.
Like, we hear that story all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy, he accomplished a million things, all this awesome stuff, but he started from humble beginnings.
Yeah.
So how is it not clear that that's where greatness is birthed?
Yeah.
Is in these humble beginnings, these same humble beginnings that talk us out of being able to accomplish these great things.
Yeah.
How is it not clear today that when you were in these humble beginnings and you got all the cards stacked against you, that creates greatness? Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna get a little excited.
That's real. That's real. I preach it into my daughter, affirmations every day. We say, don't have a great day, be great today.
That's right.
You know,
that.
so
I'm gonna have to adopt that one.
Man, I'm obsessed with greatness, bro. It's sickening. It's sickening. I was just telling somebody the other day, they was like, hey man, because I be seeing my bro see the only thing missing. I'm like, damn, man, I be seeing if I want to get married and all this, but it's like, I'm hard to love, man, but I love hard.
Yeah. But
hard to love, but I love hard.
I can see through your comments and what you're able to do for your daughter, that self-love that you have for yourself is there. And you know what? That's the most important part.
Yeah.
People are so worried about being loved and loving someone else, but you gotta love yourself before you can do all that.
And you gotta love God, man. I'm big on that. I'm more spiritual, but I always put that one that you see, that one in a million that everybody sees, they don't realize I'm really giving all glory up. It don't have nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
So once people get that part, then they really get what's really one in a million. You feel me? So I appreciate you, man.
Me and you could talk all day. I
all
can
day.
Now.
All
Listen,
day.
Before we close out, though, was there any questions that I didn't ask or that I probably didn't know to ask that you would have liked to have been asked? Or
man, look, you see by now, I'm just an open book.
I like it, man.
Open album, open movie. Like, I'm good, man. I wish we could interact with the people on the other side, but listen, leave some comments. We might, who knows? We might do a part 2. You never know.
Definitely say that we're gonna have like a phone call and stuff like that incorporated into the show. So we'd love to have you back on the show.
We come back, you hometown, like man. We doing the same job. You understand?
We'll promote it so that people can get ready for the questions too. So with that being said, people that have questions, how can they contact you and how can they follow you on social media?
Everything is at Amillion The Poet. That's all social platforms, all social networks, from the IG to the what is it, Facebook, Snapchat. Only thing you ain't gonna at me is the MySpace. That's the only thing. Other than that, man, definitely. And it's Amillion1and8 @gmail for anybody that wants to do business and get some bookings. That's anything from shows to these prisons, these schools, man. We ready. 2020 is clear vision. I'm here. And I appreciate you for having me here, man.
It was a blast. Thank you again, man.
This is for you too, man. This is a keepsake. There's not a lot of these left, but this is my original first movie. A lot of people don't know I had a movie in AMC theaters 2 years before my last one, before Road to Firefly. Really? We sold out the AMC, and they got the movie on here with some music videos. Just a little keepsake time capsule. Nobody doing DVDs no more, but it's just appreciation. And that's the 1&8 tour, man. Cool. So.
We're going to put up some graphics, too, so you guys have it on that end. And check out the Canada Flow single, too. We'll have that attached to this, too, because that was a dope track to listen to.
Don't leave.
Thank you all for tuning into episode 6 of the Xtra Mile Podcast. I'll make sure I keep those numbers right. Episode 6 of the Xtra Mile Podcast. Tune in next time.
Don't leave. Say I'm the only one you need. Say I'm the only secret you keep. Don't break me, don't break
Had to postpone my Canada tour, that kinda tore me up. Like when I tore my Achilles after I crossed them up. Still went across seas like I ain't giving up. With a boot in the cross like I don't give a what. Who, when, how we get here now? I'm losing my mind while trying to win the crown. She building me up, try not to break down. Hold up, let me roll up. You want the ring before the title, baby, slow up. I'm breaking down every time that I scroll up. Trying to look my pops in the eyes, he thinking about chicken. He ain't worried about those lines, he thinking about sniffing. Cause he got cancer, feel like it's time ticking. And I need answers, feel like my mind's different. Instead of buying Amazon, we should be saving them. Instead of pouring behind my mama, should be praying for him.
Words only say half what you mean. I'm not the only one you see. Don't break me now.
I'm so everywhere, but for you I was never there. Too busy putting on a map, I'm from Delaware. A place where there's no proteins, but it's scarce hope. With no shortage of things, so they rather sell dope. Supply and demand, I'm serving one guy's plan. Share my gift with the world, but you don't understand. I'm overseas on my grind, I'm doing shows, you think they grinding on my clothes? Hold up, let me slow up. You got the ring before the title, I ain't blow up. Still breaking down every time that I scroll up. Told my pops he gon' be cancer until we find a cure. Told him about Troy Haynes, he gotta fight like 4, no Fortnite, until we get our fort right. You never know, a bad day can be a good night. Her early flight, but too late to save mama right. Prayers to the soldiers, Trump ain't right. I would say that you're all that I need, but sometimes the world needs me more. I said I'd never leave, but then your heart tore on tour. It's no secret I'd rather break down than break up. I'd rather make up than see the smears on your makeup. I miss you, but the bigger issue is we're missing too many women and baby girls. Life ain't sweet. R.I.P. the Juice WRLD.
Words only say half what you Say I'm the only one you need. Say I'm the only secret you keep. Don't break me down.
Had to postpone my Canada tour, that kinda tore me up. Like when I tore my Achilles after I crossed them up. Still win across seas like I ain't giving up. With a boot in the cross like I don't give a what. Who, when, how we get here now? I'm losing my mind while trying to win the crown. She building me up, try not to break down. Hold up, let me roll up. You want the ring before the title, baby, slow up. I'm breaking down every time that I scroll up. Trying to look my pops in the eyes, he thinking about chicken. He ain't worried about those lines, he thinking about sniffing. Cause he got cancer, feel like it's time ticking. And I need answers, feel like my mind's different. Instead of buying Amazon, we should be saving them. Instead of pouring behind my mama, should be praying for him.
Speak, words only say half what you mean. I'm not the only one you see. Don't break me now.
I'm so everywhere, but for you I was never there. Too busy putting on a map, I'm from Delaware. A place where there's no proteins, but it's scarce hope. With no shortage of fiends, so they rather sell dope. Supply and demand, I'm serving one guy's plan. Share my gift with the world, but you don't understand. I'm overseas on my grind, I'm doing shows, you think they grinding on my clothes? Hold up, let me slow up. You got the ring before the title, I ain't blow up. Still breaking down every time that I scroll up. Told my pops he gon' be cancer until we find a cure. Told him about Troy Haynes, he gotta fight like 4, no Fortnite, until we get our fort right. You never know, a bad day can be a good night. Her early flight, but too late to save mama right. Prayers to the soldiers, Trump ain't right. I would say that you're all that I need, but sometimes the world needs me more. I said I'd never leave, but then your heart tore on tour. It's no secret I'd rather break down than break up. I'd rather make up than see the smears on your makeup. I miss you, but the bigger issue is we're missing too many women and baby girls. Life ain't sweet. R.I.P. the Juice WRLD.